My brother mocked my business. Now I own the house he wanted. I slow the car almost to a stop as I approach the entrance to my parents' house in Salamanca, my fingers gripping the steering wheel harder than necessary. 6 months. It's been 6 months since I last voluntarily subjected myself to this particular form of psychological torture. The stone house looks exactly the same as always. Immaculate gardens, freshly painted shutters, and that overwhelming sense of judgment that seems to radiate from every window. I take a deep breath, park behind my father's BMW, and check my reflection in the rearview mirror. Flawless makeup, not a single hair out of place. The armor is secure. Inside, the foyer smells of furniture wax and my mother's expensive perfume. I follow the sounds of frantic activity to the dining room, where Monica Navarro obsessively adjusts the placement of silver spoons on the linen tablecloth. "Valeria, you're here," she says, barely glancing up. Not a hug, not even a proper greeting, just the basic acknowledgement of my existence. "Can you put out the water glasses? Your father is finishing the roast lamb." I nod and head to the walnut sideboard, observing the room as I go. Family photos cover every available surface, mainly of Sergio in various poses of academic and professional achievement. Sergio at his Universidad Complutense graduation. Sergio receiving some corporate finance award. Sergio shaking hands with the mayor of Madrid. There is exactly one photo of me, hidden in the corner, from my high school graduation. Nothing else. Dad emerges from the kitchen, carving knife in hand, his face flushed with anticipatory pride. "Sunday's lamb is almost ready," he announces, not addressing me directly. He's wearing his King of the Kitchen apron, a Father's Day gift from Sergio years ago. "Smells wonderful," I lie. Javier Navarro's lamb is notoriously dry, a family tradition no one dares mention aloud. Mom circles the table for the 3rd time, adjusting napkins with millimetric precision. Sergio should arrive any moment. He texted me saying he's running a bit late, something about a video conference with investors from Singapore. Of course, the golden child is allowed to be late. His time is valuable, irreplaceable. As if summoned by his name, the front door bursts open and Sergio's booming voice fills the entire house. "Hello, family." He enters the dining room wearing a perfectly tailored navy suit that probably cost more than my first apartment's rent. Even on Sunday, he dresses as if attending a bank board meeting. Mom's face lights up like a Christmas tree. "There's my boy." She rushes to hug him while Dad pats his shoulder with genuine affection. "Sorry for the delay," Sergio says, loosening his tie. "I had to close some details on the Montalban property's acquisition. You know how it is." Dad radiates paternal pride. "That's my son, always closing million-euro deals." We sit around the table, Dad at the head, Mom to his right, Sergio to his left, and me facing an empty wall. The metaphor couldn't be more obvious. Dad attacks the lamb with his carving knife, while Mom passes plates with the precision of someone who has organized 1,000 Sunday lunches. "So Sergio," Dad says, serving him the best cut, "how's the financial prodigy of Madrid doing?" Sergio laughs, accepting the plate with a gracious nod. "I can't complain. Just closed another funding round, 9 million euros. He takes a bite of lamb, chewing thoughtfully. "Actually, I've been looking at some luxury real estate properties." Mom perks up immediately. "Oh, really? Where?" "In the barrio de Salamanca. There's a modern penthouse that just hit the market. 6,300,000 euros. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a 200-square-meter terrace with views of the Retiro, an impressive floating staircase. Everything I've always wanted." He gestures with his fork, clearly excited. "The perfect place for a successful bachelor like me." Dad whistles low, impressed. That's premium location, son. Very smart. I have a showing scheduled for next Tuesday. Sergio cuts his meat with precise movements. Should be able to make an offer by the end of the week. My bank already pre-approved the loan. Mom and Dad exchange looks of parental pride. I push food around my plate, the dry lamb catching in my throat as always. And you, Valeria? Mom asks, almost as an afterthought. How's that little online shop of yours doing? I take a sip of water, preparing myself. Actually, I've been looking for a house too. The silence lasts exactly 2 seconds before they all burst into laughter. Good joke, sis, Sergio says, wiping his mouth with the linen napkin. Almost had me. Dad's face changes from amusement to condescending paternal concern. Your little online shop is adorable, Valeria, but it's a hobby. Isn't it time you got a real job? Something stable with a fixed salary? Javier, Mom murmurs, but there's no real protest in her voice. There never is. Sergio leans back in his chair, that arrogant smile I've known my whole life firmly planted on his face. Stick to your little craft trinkets, sis. Leave the big moves to the adults who know what we're doing. I say nothing, my face carefully inexpressive, a mask perfected through years of practice. In fact, Sergio continues, reaching for his red wine glass, I'm considering investing capital in a new Spanish e-commerce player. It's called Casa Moderna. That's the future of the sector. They're going to crush all those little hobby shops selling handmade things. The memory hits me without warning. Me at 20, holding with trembling hands a 7-page business plan I'd spent weeks perfecting, standing nervously in Dad's office. What do you think, Dad? I had asked, hope dangerously inflating in my chest. Dad had skimmed it for 30 seconds before patting my head like I was 5 years old. How nice, sweetheart. Very creative. Meanwhile, your brother Sergio just landed a position at Goldman Sachs. Isn't that incredible? That night, I made a silent vow. I would never again share my dreams with them. Never again would I give them the power to destroy my ambitions with their casual indifference. What followed were years of cold nights in a rented garage, packing boxes alone at 2 a.m, the devastating blow of losing my 70,000 euros in lifetime savings when a supplier disappeared overnight with my money. Working 3 separate jobs simultaneously to rebuild my capital while maintaining the fiction that my business was just a pretty weekend project. Back in the present, Mom pushes an almond cake from the pastry shop toward me. Have some dessert, dear. You look so thin. Are you eating well? I smile, the shield I built years ago firmly in place. The smile doesn't reach my eyes, but they never notice. They never do. If only they knew that Casa Pereni generated 42 million euros in revenue last year, that the trinkets Sergio ridicules are in interior design magazines and in celebrity homes throughout Europe, that my hobby employs 53 people who genuinely respect and value my leadership. I should go, I say, standing up. I have to work early tomorrow. Sergio scoffs with disdain. Playing store. Meanwhile, we'll be talking about real, actual business. Mom walks me to the door, pressing a foil-wrapped package into my hands. Leftover lunch. Since you probably don't cook much, this will do you good. I accept with the same smile practiced for years, say the expected and appropriate goodbyes, and finally escape to my car. My hands tremble slightly on the steering wheel as I drive away from their house, their world of constant judgment and contempt. For the first time in years, something inside me changes, a clarity I hadn't allowed myself to feel before. Enough, I whisper to the empty car. That's enough. I reach for my phone and dial Daniel. How was the family dinner? His familiar voice asks, needing no preamble. He knows me too well. Sergio wants to buy a penthouse in Salamanca, 6,300,000 euros. Daniel remains silent for a moment, processing the information. And? I want it. The words taste like freedom, like justice long overdue. The penthouse. The penthouse? Daniel repeats, and I can hear his smile through the phone. Yes, and everything else they think I can't have. It's time they learned what craft trinkets can build. I end the call as the road stretches out before me, full of possibilities I haven't allowed myself to consider for years. Casa Perenni's headquarters doesn't look like a hobby business. It looks like tangible, quantifiable success. Monday morning, Daniel Moreno stands by the floor-to-ceiling windows of Valeria's office in downtown Madrid, contemplating the empire she's built, practically from nothing. Modern. White furniture contrasts elegantly with vibrant accent pieces from her latest collection. Sophisticated home items, artisanal scented candles, handcrafted ceramic vases, exclusive designer cushions are artistically displayed on floating shelves, each piece a silent reminder to anyone who ever called them worthless trinkets. He turns toward the desk where quarterly reports tell the real story. Consistent growth year after year, profit margins that would make Sergio weep with envy, and financial projections consistently pointing upward. 9 figures annually. Not a hobby, a legitimate business empire. The wall behind Daniel's desk displays what Valeria never showed her family. Framed magazine covers featuring Casa Perenne products, e-commerce industry awards, and press clippings celebrating her. Businesswoman of the Year in Home and Decor, 30 under 30 in business. Digital retail disruptors. The future of home goods is here. The elevator doors open and Valeria enters, still wearing clothes from the family lunch. Her expression has shifted from the careful neutrality she wore at her parents' table to something sharper, more focused, more determined. "How bad was it?" Daniel asks, though he already knows the answer. He's seen her after these family dinners too many times. Sergio is buying a penthouse in Salamanca, 6,300,000 euros. She drops her purse on a nearby chair. They all laughed when I said I was looking for a house too, like it was the funniest joke they'd heard in years. Of course they did, Daniel says. He's never met the Navarros in person, but he's heard enough over the years to despise them deeply. An employee approaches with Italian fabric samples, hesitates when she sees Valeria's expression, but continues forward anyway. "Sorry to interrupt, but the Milan samples just arrived. I thought you'd want to see them immediately." Valeria's demeanor softens instantly. "Thanks, Carmen." She takes the samples, runs her fingers over them with genuine approval. "These are perfect for the spring collection. Schedule a production meeting for first thing tomorrow morning." Carmen nods and leaves. The brief interaction speaks volumes. Mutual respect, no condescension. Professional confidence, not constant doubt. 5 years, Daniel says, returning to their previous conversation. 5 years we've been building this together, and they still think you're playing at toy shop. Valeria walks to the windows, looking out at the Madrid horizon stretching before her. "You know what hurts the most, Daniel? Sergio mentioned he's considering investing in Casa Moderna, our direct competitor in the Spanish market." Daniel winces. "That's exactly," Valeria interrupts. "He's actively trying to crush my business without even knowing it's mine, without having the slightest idea that I'm competing against him." Daniel remembers when he first met Valeria 5 years ago. He was a cynical, burned-out business consultant. She was a determined woman with a clear vision and a rock-solid business plan. When she offered him the chief operations officer position, everyone told him he was crazy to leave his six-figure salary at a prestigious consulting firm for an uncertain startup. Everyone except Valeria, who showed him exactly why the risk was worth it. The Salamanca penthouse, Daniel says slowly, thinking aloud. You really want it. I can pay for it. She states this as an irrefutable fact, not a presumption. Easily, in cash if necessary. Daniel leans against her desk, crossing his arms. But what happens when they find out? When Sergio realizes his little sister beat him to his dream property? Valeria walks to the wall where her business vision board shows her 5-year plan. Her fingers trace the growth projections, planned product lines, carefully calculated international expansion objectives. I've spent years protecting their feelings, Daniel, hiding my success to keep them comfortable. I'm done with that. Daniel observes her carefully, noticing the fundamental shift. This isn't the hurt daughter from the family lunch. This is the CEO who built a 9-figure business, practically from nothing. The woman who lost all her lifetime savings to a con artist and recovered without a single complaint, without asking anyone for help. This isn't about revenge, she continues, her voice firm and clear. It's about finally recognizing my own worth. By hiding my success all this time, I've been allowing their contempt, validating their narrative that I'm less capable, less ambitious, less successful. You owe them nothing, Daniel reminds her, because someone has to say it aloud. No, but I owe this to myself. She turns toward him, clarity replacing years of self-imposed confusion in her eyes. If Sergio wants that penthouse as a symbol of his success, let him find another symbol. This one is mine. Daniel nods, already reaching for his laptop. Let me review the property details. Hours later, they're still in the conference room. Empty coffee cups cover the polished table. Daniel has his sleeves rolled up, tie loosened, navigating real estate details on his screen. Good news, he announces. It hasn't gone to contract yet. The selling agent is Patricia Herrera. We donated generously to her charity auction last year. I can get us a private showing for tomorrow. Valeria studies the architectural renderings on the screen. Clean, modern lines, glass walls, a floating staircase that defies gravity. Everything exactly as Sergio described it at lunch. The modern 6,300,000 penthouse in Salamanca, she says, each word with deliberate care. The one Sergio wants. Buy it. All cash offer, no contingencies. Daniel smiles, the thrill of battle shining in his eyes. It's time, Valeria. Time to show them what craft trinkets can build when nobody's watching. They spend another hour planning the details, meticulously. The purchase will be through an LLC to keep her name out of public records initially. Closing will be expedited as much as possible. They'll send documentation before Sergio can even make his official offer. For a moment, as Daniel describes the strategy step by step, doubt crosses Valeria's face like a passing cloud. This is going to change everything with my family, forever. Maybe that's been very necessary for a long time, Daniel says gently, with genuine empathy. Valeria nods, doubt quickly replaced by renewed determination. She signs the preliminary offer letter, officially putting her name, her true worth, on legal paper. Send it first thing tomorrow morning, she instructs, standing to leave finally. Daniel watches her go, pride mixing with concern in equal parts. The Navarros have no idea what's coming. But perhaps, Daniel thinks, Valeria isn't fully prepared for the consequences either. 1 week later, the real estate agent's heels echo against marble as she guides us through the empty mansion, her voice echoing in spaces that will soon be mine. Daniel walks beside me, his whispered comment making me smile despite the emotional weight of what we're doing. The all-cash offer was brilliant, he says, nodding with genuine approval at the floating staircase that seems to defy every law of physics. They accepted it within hours. Your brother never had a real chance. I run my fingers over Italian marble countertops in a kitchen that could easily host a small army of guests. It wasn't even a competition, Daniel. Sergio expected endless bank approvals and family connections smoothing the way. I simply wrote a check. End of story. Morning light floods through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating every detail Sergio wanted but couldn't have. 6,300,000 euros of impressive modern architecture, with Madrid skyline views that literally take my breath away, though I'd never admit it aloud. The sellers were practically euphoric, Daniel continues, testing premium appliances with childlike curiosity. They said they'd never seen an offer materialize so quickly. No financing contingencies, no extended inspection period, clean cash, ready to go. I head toward the enormous panoramic windows, the city spread below me like something I could reach out and touch. Did they mention other offers? Just one, Daniel smiles with satisfaction. Some corporate finance guy who needed to get financing first. You know, the typical slow banking process. Sergio's face flashes in my mind. How he'll look when he discovers someone bought his dream house right under his nose. The thought warms me more than it should, I admit. We ascend the floating staircase, each step feeling like a small personal victory. The master bedroom occupies the entire east wing with windows on 3 sides and a bathroom larger than my first complete apartment. This is where you'll sleep, Daniel says, his voice softer now, almost reverent. Your personal kingdom. I stand in the center of the empty room, allowing myself to imagine for the first time my furniture here, my art on these pristine white walls, my life finally visible and undeniable. You know what would be poetic? Daniel leans against the door frame, eyes bright with obvious mischief. A housewarming party. A party? I turn toward him, the idea taking shape immediately in my mind. Not just any party, the ultimate reveal party. He gestures expansively with both hands. Invite everyone who matters in Madrid, including your family. Let them walk through these hallways admiring every detail before they discover who really owns it. I imagine the scene. Monica touching expensive accessories, Javier commenting on the craftsmanship, Sergio mentally calculating square footage and property values, all without knowing the truth. The perfect ambush. That's deliciously evil, I say, a smile spreading across my face. I love it completely. The next 3 weeks pass in a dizzying whirlwind of constant activity. Interior designers swarm through the house like efficient ants, transforming empty spaces into something uniquely mine, something that finally reflects who I really am. I supervise every decision personally, the exact shade of gray for the living room walls, the specific texture of carpets underfoot, the lighting fixtures that cast the perfect warm glow. These pieces from your spring collection should be prominently displayed, I tell the lead designer, pointing to Casa Perenne items that have appeared on design magazine covers. I want them everywhere, impossible to ignore. She nods, taking detailed notes on her tablet. They'll definitely be conversation pieces, I guarantee it. Between endless design consultations, I make an obligatory appearance at my parents' house for quick coffee. Monica has been calling more frequently lately, concerned about my notable absence from regular family gatherings. While I sneak toward the guest bathroom, I hear Sergio's agitated voice from Javier's closed study. Some anonymous buyer with cash appeared out of nowhere and took it. His frustration vibrates through the solid wooden door. The Salamanca penthouse, my house, gone before I could even get the bank to finish the damn paperwork. You'll find something better, dear, Monica comforts him, her perpetual role as Sergio's emotional bandage firmly engaged. I've had my eye on that property for months, he continues, his voice rising in volume. It was perfect. The location, the design, everything. Javier's deeper tone interjects with typical paternal authority. I'll call my banker friends this week. We'll get you priority on the next luxury listing that comes out. Something will appear. It always does. I slip away unnoticed. Valuable information gathered. Satisfaction warming my chest. They have absolutely no idea what's coming. Invitations go out 1 week later. Heavy, cream cardstock in elegant minimalist envelopes. New Salamanca residence, housewarming, with exact date, time, and address. But no host name. Daniel and I review the guest list together meticulously, ensuring we've included every important connection in Madrid's business community, along with my completely unsuspecting family. My phone rings the next day with Monica's number. Valeria, did you get one too? She asks immediately after I answer. An invitation to a housewarming in Salamanca? It must be some new colleague of Sergio's or something. Her voice carries that familiar tone, suggesting I need help connecting with the right people. Oh, you should come. It'll be good for you to network with Sergio's people. You could make useful contacts. I'll be there, I assure her, choosing my words carefully. You should come too. We've already confirmed. Sergio thinks it's someone from that tech company that just opened downtown offices. Good opportunity to make important business connections. When I hang up, Daniel raises an eyebrow questioningly. Did they take the bait? Hook, line, and sinker. I smile. Sergio thinks it's a business networking opportunity. He has no idea. When the night of the party arrives, I stand in my new master bedroom, examining my reflection in the full-length mirror. The black dress cost more than most people's monthly salary, but tonight requires the highest quality armor. My hair falls in perfectly styled soft waves, impeccable but discreet makeup. I look successful, powerful, untouchable. Outside, the house glows with strategic lighting highlighting its modern architectural lines. Inside, waiters arrange exquisite food on elegant platters. Every surface gleams immaculately, every detail absolutely perfect. Daniel arrives first, looking flawless in his tailored suit. He whistles softly as he contemplates the completed transformation. It's magnificent, he says, accepting a champagne flute from a passing waiter. Better than you described. We stand together at the base of the floating staircase, sharing a moment of solidarity before the theatrical performance begins. He raises his glass in a private toast. To the woman who built an empire while they weren't even watching. I clink my glass against his, throat tight with emotions I rarely allow myself to feel openly. Tonight isn't about family approval. It's about truth finally revealed. The doorbell rings and the first guests arrive. Business acquaintances and local influencers who exclaim admiringly about the house while trying to figure out who its mysterious owner could be. An hour later, I spot them through the crowd. Javier entering first, followed by Monica clutching her designer Loewe purse, and Sergio scanning the room with the calculating gaze of someone simultaneously evaluating property values and net worth. "Whose house do you think this is?" Monica asks loudly enough for me to hear as she accepts a champagne flute. "Has to be new tech money," Sergio responds, running his hand over Calicotta marble. "Or old, inherited Madrid money. This place must have cost an absolute fortune." They wander through the ground floor, commenting on Roche-Beaubois furniture, cutting-edge architecture, spectacular panoramic views. I follow at a prudent distance, observing as Monica stops before a distinctive vase prominently displayed on an Italian walnut console. "This looks like one of those things from Valeria's website," she says, leaning closer to examine it with curiosity. "Those handcraft pieces she sells." Sergio scoffs without barely looking at it. "Probably a cheap imitation. Real quality is in a completely different league." The moment has arrived finally. I slip away unseen, ascending the floating staircase until I reach the upper landing. From this privileged observation point, I can see my entire party spread below like theater. Daniel catches my eye from across the room and raises his glass slightly. Our agreed signal. He taps his glass with a silver spoon, the crystalline tinkle cutting through conversations like a knife. "Ladies and gentlemen," he calls out with clear, powerful voice. I believe our hostess would like to say a few words. All eyes turn upward, finding me at the top of the staircase. The room falls into absolute silence as I stand above them, powerful in my strategic elevation. I locate my family immediately. Javier's confusion, Monica's surprise, Sergio's narrowed eyes as he tries to comprehend why I'm speaking as the hostess. "Welcome, everyone," I begin, my voice firm and clear, resonating through the space. "My family in particular has always been concerned about my professional future. They thought my craft hobby couldn't possibly pay basic bills, so I'm thrilled they're here to finally see what that hobby bought. Welcome to my house." Absolute silence follows my words. In the sepulchral quiet, I hear Sergio's phone distinctly hit the marble floor. Javier's face drains completely of color while Monica opens and closes her mouth without producing any audible sound. Around them, other guests murmur in genuine admiration, raising their glasses in my direction with evident respect. Across the room, Daniel radiates unmistakable pride. But it's the expressions on my family's faces I'll remember forever. The moment they finally see me standing in my complete truth. 6,300,000 euros of undeniable success beneath my feet. For the first time in my life, I'm not waiting for their condescending approval. I'm simply showing them who I've always been, and it feels like absolute freedom. The stunned silence that followed my announcement lasted precisely 5 complete seconds before nervous laughter erupted from somewhere in the guest crowd. I remained at the top of the floating staircase, watching as party attendees shifted uncomfortably while alternating glances between my family and me. My mother recovered, first her automatic social training activating like a Pavlovian reflex. "Valeria, stop joking." Monica's voice carried forced lightness that fooled no one. "Whose house is this, really?" I descended 3 calculated steps, deliberately maintaining the highest position. "Mine, Mom. Every square inch of it." Javier pushed through the gathering crowd, his face reddened beneath his perfectly styled gray hair. He grabbed my elbow, pulling me to the side while maintaining a strange, tense smile for nearby spectators. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he hissed, his voice low but sharp as a razor. "Is this some kind of bad joke?" I disengaged my arm from his grip with a subtle but firm turn. "No jokes, no games. Just concrete facts, Dad." Behind him, Sergio remained frozen, his expression running through emotions like a broken slot machine. Initial shock, deep disbelief, and finally strategic calculation. The wheels were spinning furiously behind those eyes, completely reevaluating everything he thought he knew about his insignificant little sister. Around us, the party continued its uncomfortable but inexorable momentum. Waiters circulated professionally with Dom Perignon. Conversations resumed in whispered and speculative tones. The chamber quartet I'd hired played continuously, their strings filling uncomfortable silences with melody. €6,300,000, I announced, loud enough for nearby guests to hear clearly. Paid completely in cash from money generated by my handcraft hobby. A woman I recognized from an interior design magazine approached, champagne flute extended toward me in a toast. "Valeria, this place is absolutely spectacular," she said with genuine enthusiasm. "I had no idea Casa Perenne was having such commercial success. We featured your autumn collection in our latest issue." Javier's face drained completely of all color. Monica clutched her Mikimoto pearls like lifelines. "Thank you so much," I responded, accepting the toast with grace. "It's been an extraordinary year for us." Other guests gradually approached, offering effusive congratulations, asking intelligent questions about my business and entrepreneurial strategy. With each professional and respectful interaction, my family retreated further into social isolation, their decades-old narrative disintegrating in real time before their own eyes. I excused myself from a fascinating conversation with a local art gallery owner to refresh my drink. The calculated risk had paid off perfectly. The public revelation prevented any family attempt to minimize or dismiss my success, as had happened so many times before. Sergio appeared beside me at the wine table, his perfect white teeth clenched into a barely disguised smile. He gripped his Macallan bourbon so tightly I thought it might shatter. "What game are you playing exactly?" he demanded, voice low and aggressive. "There's no possible way you paid for this place alone." "What did you do? Find some millionaire sugar daddy to put up the cash?" I drank my Cristal champagne calmly, maintaining direct, defiant eye contact. "Casa Perenne generated €42 million in revenue last year, Sergio. I bought this house with my own money, clean cash." The satisfaction of seeing his eyes widen dramatically was worth every second of the years I'd strategically hidden my massive success. He processed the information like poison, his expression changing as he mentally recalculated his relative position. I could almost see the mental spreadsheet frantically adjusting behind his eyes. "Why didn't you come to me for professional investment advice?" he asked, quickly pivoting to salvage his bruised ego. "I could have helped you structure things much more efficiently. Significant tax advantages, strategic offshore accounts, capital optimization." "You never asked about my business," I interrupted sharply. "Not once in all these years. Not a single question about what I was building day after day. Why would I come to you now?" The truth landed like a physical slap. Sergio retreated without another word, heading directly toward Javier in the living room corner. They huddled together like conspirators, their whispered conversation interrupted by frequent nervous glances in my direction. I turned to find Monica approaching, her emergency smile firmly in place. The same one she used when Sergio crashed the Lexus at 16 or when Dad's inappropriate comments offended important dinner guests. "Valeria, dear," she gave air kisses near my cheek. "What a charming and unexpected surprise. We always knew you were smart with money, of course." Historical revisionism had already begun, as predictable as clockwork. I drank my champagne without verbal response. Javier joined us, sliding an arm around Monica's waist in a gesture of false family unity. "Quite surprising success," he said, deliberately emphasizing surprising, as if my achievement were some inexplicable cosmic accident. "Tell us about your business revenue model. How did you scale so quickly without traditional institutional investors?" 8 years too late, they wanted detailed answers. 8 years too late, they were genuinely interested in my business. "It's a very long story," I responded, offering absolutely nothing more. "We should have a business dinner soon," Monica suggested, her voice sweetened with newly discovered respect. to discuss collaboration opportunities. Your father has excellent contacts in the sector who might be very interested in what you're doing." "Perhaps," I said, completely uncommitted. The shift in power was palpable in the air. For the first time in my entire life, they were pursuing me. Across the crowded room, Daniel caught my gaze, raising an eyebrow in silent question. I gave him a slight nod to indicate everything was proceeding exactly as planned. He moved through the crowd with practiced ease, strategically intervening when necessary to redirect uncomfortable conversations or extract me from potentially difficult encounters. As the evening progressed, I overheard a revealing conversation fragment between Javier and Sergio near the Marble Bar. "Temporary cash flow problems," Javier murmured with evident tension. "But if we can secure that bridge financing before quarter end—" Sergio interrupted with a sharp headshake. "The Montalban investment went completely wrong. I told you from the beginning it was extremely high risk, Dad." I paused beside a nearby column, pretending to examine an abstract painting while straining my ears to capture more information. "How bad is it?" Javier asked, voice tight with concern. "Bad enough," Sergio responded with tense voice. "We need to talk privately and soon, not here where everyone can listen." I walked away before they noticed me listening, processing this unexpected but valuable new information. The golden child wasn't quite so golden after all, apparently. For years, I'd automatically assumed Sergio's arrogance was backed by genuine and substantial financial success. Now, I was no longer so sure of that at all. Rather than confronting them immediately with this information, I decided to simply observe and gather more data. This unexpected vulnerability completely changed the equation of power. Knowledge itself was power. Power I hadn't anticipated having tonight specifically. Later, while guests mingled around the personalized marble island in the chef's kitchen, I overheard two financial analysts discussing Sergio's firm. I heard they lost the Westridge account last month, an absolutely devastating blow for them. I'm not surprised at all. Their last 3 major investments significantly underperformed expectations. The numbers were publicly embarrassing. I filed the information mentally, maintaining my perfect hostess smile while circulating through the room with practiced grace. When Daniel approached with a fresh champagne flute, his expression told me he'd heard similar whispers circulating. "Interesting party," he murmured near my ear. "Your brother's firm isn't doing as well as he projects publicly. Rumor has it they've missed their last 2 quarterly targets by double-digit margins." I accepted the champagne, our fingers deliberately brushing in the exchange. "Interesting information," I responded in low voice. "Let's keep our eyes wide open." The family that had dismissed my business vision for years now faced their own financial crisis. I hadn't planned this additional lever of power, but as any good entrepreneur knows from experience, sometimes the most valuable opportunities are precisely the ones you don't expect to find when you least anticipate them. 3 months of meticulously calculated business maneuvering had transformed Casa Perenne from a thriving enterprise into a relentless market predator. I sat at my executive desk, reviewing final acquisition reports with Daniel sitting across from me. Outside my office windows, the Madrid horizon gleamed under afternoon sun, a testament to finally realized ambitions without apologies. "Supply chain acquisition completed," Daniel said, sliding another folder across my walnut desk. "That makes 7 of Casa Moderna's key suppliers now under our corporate umbrella." I nodded, absorbing the impressive numbers. Casa Moderna had been struggling with problematic delivery times and quality control for weeks. Each strategic supplier acquisition had tightened the noose around their operations without leaving any digital traces leading back to us. Market analysts published their quarterly report this morning, I said, passing him my tablet. They're calling Casa Perenne the unexpected powerhouse revolutionizing Spain's home goods e-commerce sector. Daniel scrolled through the extensive report, a smile playing at his mouth's corners. And look at this paragraph about Casa Moderna's increasingly erratic business pivots. They're completely desperate. On my desk, a notification arrived. The warehouse deal was ready for final approval. Sergio had absolutely no idea we'd been discreetly negotiating behind the scenes to purchase the exact building Casa Moderna operated its main distribution center from. One electronic signature, and we'd control their entire physical distribution infrastructure. "Ready for the boardroom?" Daniel asked, gathering his materials neatly. I stood, smoothing my Armani gray carbon suit. Let's finish this once and for all. In the elegant conference room with panoramic city views, our executive team and corporate lawyers waited in silent anticipation. The atmosphere was professional, but charged with electric anticipation. This wasn't routine business. It was the final move in a chess game only Daniel and I fully understood. "The bankruptcy acquisition agreement is ready for signature, Ms. Navarro," our lead legal advisor said, sliding the document toward me. "Once officially filed, you'll own all remaining Casa Moderna assets at approximately 12 cents per euro of original value." I signed without the slightest hesitation, my signature flowing across the page with the confidence of someone who'd been meticulously planning this moment for months. "Congratulations," the lawyer said, shaking my hand firmly. "You're now officially the owner of your largest competitor." The meeting concluded with professional handshakes and approving nods. No ostentatious celebration, no bubbling champagne. This wasn't about empty spectacle. It was about pure and hard business power. Back in my private office, Daniel handed me the freshly printed industry publication. The headline blazed dramatically across the cover. Casa Moderna Files, Chapter 11, The Spectacular Failure of Spain's E-Commerce Darling. "They're heavily questioning the investment firm's judgment," Daniel pointed out, indicating a mid-page section. Sergio's name appears 3 times, and none in flattering contexts. I skimmed the article, absorbing phrases like catastrophic management and completely shattered investor confidence. Sergio Navarro was being publicly destroyed by the same financial press that once celebrated him as a prodigy. "Your brother's firm is taking an absolutely devastating hit from this," Daniel said, watching my face carefully for reaction. "The losses are massive." I set the magazine on my desk, my expression completely neutral and professional. He bet against me using other people's money, including our parents. He lost everything. Simple as that. The words hung suspended in the air between us, neither celebratory nor remorseful, just cold, undeniable facts. My phone vibrated again, Monica's 7th call that day alone. I silenced it without even glancing at the screen. Over the past week, my mother's contact attempts had escalated from occasional to absolutely frantic. Text messages appeared across my screen throughout the day, each more desperate than the last. I played the latest voicemail on speaker for Daniel to hear as well. "Valeria, please. We need to talk urgently. It's very serious. I'm begging you." Daniel raised an inquisitive eyebrow. "They're finally discovering what really happened." That Sunday, I positioned myself strategically at the top of my floating staircase while the security system announced their arrival. Through the massive windows, I observed them approaching. Javier's shoulders slumped in visible defeat, Monica constantly wiping her eyes with a silk tissue, Sergio dragging behind them with eyes fixed obstinately on the ground. The contrast with that Sunday lunch months earlier, couldn't have been more complete and dramatic. Power had inverted totally. I made no movement to descend while they entered my marble vestibule, standing in silence and dwarfed beneath me. "Come up," I said, my voice carrying perfectly through the cavernous space. I turned without awaiting their response and led them to my living room, refusing to take their coats or provide any refreshment. I settled into an individual armchair, leaving them seated uncomfortably on the opposite sofa. Silence extended between us, thick with unspoken history and accumulated resentments. I didn't break it. This was their meeting, their desperate request. Let them speak first. Javier cleared his throat loudly, hands clasped between his knees. "Valeria, we need your financial help, desperately." I said nothing, just raised an eyebrow questioningly. "Sergio has lost absolutely everything," he hesitated, looking to Monica for support. My mother intervened quickly, voice trembling visibly. "Sergio has completely lost everything, Valeria. Everything." "Everything?" I repeated, my tone professionally distant and completely detached. Javier nodded heavily, his face a sickly gray color. "Our retirement savings, too. We co-signed his investment as guarantors. Our entire financial security has completely evaporated." Monica leaned forward pleadingly, tears streaming freely now without control. "We need monetary help, Valeria. A large loan, just until we somehow recover." Sergio hadn't spoken a single word yet, hadn't even lifted his gaze from the marble floor. His designer clothing looked wrinkled and neglected, his hair unwashed for days. "What exactly did you lose everything in?" I asked him directly. He flinched at being addressed, then muttered toward the floor with barely audible voice. "A promising tech startup, an e-commerce brand. You wouldn't understand anyway." He paused bitterly. "It was called Casa Moderna." I smiled slowly. The expression felt like pure ice on my face. "Casa Moderna," I repeated each word with surgical precision. "Our direct competitor for the past 6 complete months. Did you wonder why they filed bankruptcy last Tuesday? Because Casa Perenne, my company, strategically acquired their entire supply chain. You bet against me using our parents' retirement money. You lost everything." Javier's mouth fell open in absolute shock. Monica's crying intensified dramatically. "Valeria, please," she begged between sobs. "We're family. Doesn't that mean anything?" I stood in one fluid movement, smoothing my trousers with deliberate calm. The conversation had definitively ended. I walked tranquilly to my front door and opened it wide, letting afternoon light flood inside. "Get out of my property immediately," I said in low but perfectly audible voice. "Now." And I closed the heavy door on their shocked and destroyed faces. 3 months later, afternoon sunlight floods through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Salamanca mansion, casting long golden rectangles across the polished marble floors. The living room, once a sterile showcase for potential buyers, now feels genuinely alive and authentically mine. A Loro Piana cashmere throw draped over the modern sectional, carefully selected art pieces displayed for personal significance rather than price tags, fresh aromatic flowers arranged in a handcrafted vase from my exclusive collection. I lean forward on the sofa, studying fabric samples spread across the marble coffee table. Daniel sits across from me, tablet in hand, his casual posture belying the real importance of our business discussion. "Third quarter numbers exceeded all projections by 17%, Daniel says, sliding the tablet toward me. That sustainable home goods line is outselling everything else by 2 to 1. I nod, allowing myself a small, genuine smile. Not the defensive shield I once used at family dinners, but something authentic and real. People respond to genuine authenticity. Who would have imagined? I pick up a luxurious cream-colored fabric sample, running my thumb across its exquisite texture. The room feels completely different from those first weeks after the final family confrontation. No lingering tension, no need for constant victory, just absolute peace. Regarding production expansion, Daniel continues, scrolling through a detailed presentation. I found a manufacturer in Galicia, family-owned for 3 generations, impeccable labor practices, all materials sourced within 500 kilometers of their facilities. I tilt my head, considering carefully. Higher production costs inevitably, but significant reduction in carbon footprint, plus made in Spain, carries considerable weight with our target demographic. Exactly what I was thinking, Daniel says with approval. Our professional shorthand flows effortlessly now, built on 3 years of solid partnership and unbreakable mutual trust. Did you see the industry award nomination arrive? He adds casually, though his eyes betray genuine emotion. Visionary brand category from the European Design Guild. About damn time, I say, without the bitterness such recognition would have once triggered. No need to downplay achievements now, no learned humility from my parents' table. My phone vibrates against the marble, screen illuminating with a familiar name, Monica Navarro. The room seems to collectively hold its breath. Daniel observes carefully, his expression remaining perfectly neutral, but completely alert. I glance briefly at the illuminated phone, a fleeting memory pulsing. My family's stunned faces when the front door closed definitively, the disbelieving shock on Javier's face, Monica's desperate tears, Sergio's total humiliation. For a moment, my finger hovers over the illuminated screen. 3 months ago, this call would have sent adrenaline surging furiously through my nervous system. 6 months ago, I might have answered immediately, desperate for any microscopic crumb of family approval. Without ceremony, I silence the call and flip the phone face down on the table. Let's use the highest quality fabric for this piece, I say, returning to the cream sample, as if the interruption never occurred. Daniel nods with understanding, the gesture containing complete volumes of tacit approval and silent support. No verbal discussion needed, no justification required. We advance peacefully through the afternoon, conversation flowing naturally toward future plans. A potential pop-up store in Barcelona, strategic collaborations with promising emerging artists, the color palette for the winter collection launching in November. Neither of us mentions the Navarros or Sergio's catastrophic failed investment once. That chapter is definitively closed. I laugh unexpectedly at Daniel's dry observation about a minor competitor's clumsy rebranding attempt. The sound bounces cheerfully off the high ceilings, free and genuine without self-imposed restrictions. I move toward the panoramic window, observing carefully maintained grounds as afternoon transitions toward evening. My reflection appears in the glass, naturally relaxed shoulders, open and confident posture, clear and serene eyes. This house feels completely different now, not a declaration of war, not cold revenge, simply my home. As dusk settles gently over Madrid, the warm light flourishes through every room, projecting golden glow across modern angles and clean architectural lines. Daniel and I accompany our lead designer to the front door after meticulously finalizing spring collection details. "Dinner at 8?" the designer asks. "Marcos is bringing that chef he's been dating. He says we need a completely impartial opinion about his mushroom risotto." "Wouldn't miss it for anything," I respond. The casual certainty of plans with genuine friends, my consciously chosen family, feeling far more natural than any obligatory Sunday dinner ever felt. Back inside, I noticed my phone on the coffee table, screen illuminated with 3 additional missed call notifications. Without even checking who called, I flipped the device face down and walked tranquilly toward the chef's kitchen to prepare tea. I'd waited my entire life to speak those final words to my family, to close that heavy door on their faces. Now that I'd finally done it, I discovered something completely unexpected and profoundly liberating. Genuine freedom tastes infinitely better than cold revenge ever could.